I love printing. I love printing. I love it. I love printing. Hey, everybody. Want to welcome you back to another session with me, Warren Werbitt, otherwise known as the Print Whisperer. Today, I'm sitting with a good friend, Gee Ranasinha from KEXINO. Did I get that right?
You got that right, Warren. I'll let you off.
Okay, thanks, because no one's going to see the other 27 takes before I can pronounce that.
That's for the blooper reel. We'll keep that one safe.
Great. So today we're sitting here with Gee, and I'm having him on because Gee's a marketer. Personally, I think he's a great marketer, but I wanted his take. I wanted his take on we as printers, what we do, what we don't do. I want your honest opinion because you've worked with a lot of us, right?
I have, yes.
I'll start off by saying I personally think most printers suck at marketing themselves.
Yeah.
I say that confidently, by the way, and I don't say it to disrespect anyone. But what do you think?
Yeah, you won't get any argument from me there, Warren. Unfortunately, and I don't quite know why that is, but my suspicion is that business owners in the printing industry either don't understand or don't value the function of marketing within their organization. And I think that may be because historically printers have been able to get by without having to embark on anything official from a marketing perspective, right? Because I mean, if depends how far back you go, obviously, but you know, in the early days, you bought the kit, you know, you had the open sign on the door and you'd get business, you'd tap your network and you'd fill the funnel. And
sorry, actually, in the old days, you didn't have to do anything because it was coming.
Right. That's the point. You didn't actually have to do any sort of drumming up of business. It would work. Okay. And so, and obviously this is printing companies and printing company owners of a certain age.
By the way, if I'm smiling the whole time, because there's so many things I want to scream at.
Okay.
Because I've been marketing and spending money on marketing since 2007, and a lot of money. Because I always thought that, you know, if we're going to do all the marketing communication materials for everyone else, we got to be great at it. But I don't see that. But I don't see that from others. Okay, first of all, I want to give kudos to all the great print companies out there that actually do spend a lot of money, work with agencies, work with creative people, and take the time to put out proper messaging and follow up, because most people don't follow up.
They do exist, and they are a growing number. And absolutely, you know, chapeau, as we'd say in France, you know, I doff my cap to those people who do understand the value of marketing within the value creation process, and they do it properly. And it doesn't have to mean a ton of money, but it means putting together people and process in place and let them get on with it. But the problem is the vast majority, right, the bottom of that triangle, are just getting by on a wing and a prayer, and they're just hoping, you know, they're sticking a wet finger in the air and just going for it, and they don't see the value of print within their business, and it's manifested in a number of ways. For example, they employ people who call themselves marketers who haven't got a clue what they're doing. And that may be for a number of reasons, okay? It may be they haven't been trained, they haven't been educated, or simply they haven't got a clue. So what happens is they default to what civilians, people outside of the industry, our industry, the marketing industry, okay, think marketing is, which for most people is promotions, is comms.
Well, just, you know, I'm thinking when you say that, I'm thinking salespeople. A lot of people used to have the title sales and marketing.
Yes,
but you don't really do sales and marketing. You're either doing sales or you're in marketing.
Very different disciplines,
right?
And those people who have those joint titles, 10 will get you 5. They are originally salespeople who have taken on the mantle of marketing rather than the other way round.
Oh, I don't think marketing people take the title of sales.
Right. And why? Because next to zero marketing people have had any sales training or any sales experience.
Well, I think you could say the same thing about salespeople who take on the title of marketing.
All salespeople who've taken on the mantle of sales. Okay.
Right.
For instance, the last 2+ years, what have most organizations done to improve the efficacy of their sales teams when they could send them on online sales training courses? Zero. Yeah. Exactly.
Maybe 2 zeros.
Maybe 00. Yeah, how about triple? Can you do triple? No, you can't, can you?
That's offline.
Okay, fine. And and that's the point. A lot of salespeople, and not a lot, okay, not all, okay,
a lot.
I'd wager the majority haven't had regular sales training updates, right? They're given the keys to the car and they say off you go, and they're given a target and they're given a territory, and they're supposed to come back with goods. Yet customers have changed, buying expectations have changed, what the printer is selling has changed, all of this stuff has changed, and no one's actually spending any time, money and effort at the coalface to educate and empower the sales teams to walk and talk the new vernacular that the printer is using at the front end from a marketing perspective in terms of websites or any other customer-facing collateral that they're using. And so there's a discrepancy between what the salesperson is saying and what the company is saying from the marketing department. And the whole thing sort of falls down.
Yeah. So, I couldn't agree more with you. So like, I always try to take things down to like a grassroots basic level of understanding. And for the last 5 years, 7, 8, 10 years, maybe there's been a push within the industry for printers to become marketing people or to be able to provide marketing solutions. The only way that happens is if you bring in real marketing people or build a marketing team or team up with a marketing firm. Your average print company is not going to become a marketer, right?
Well, this is why you have all of these, let's call them snake oil salespeople, okay? These gurus who say that printers need to evolve into communication specialists or something.
But so hang on one sec. What I was going to say was the simplest thing that I've been talking to people about and saying or asking people is printers. I go, you guys do mailings, you promote all this stuff. I said, what do you do for yourself? Well, I go, no, that's not really it. Well, I said, have you done a case study for yourself where you've gone out, and I say it all the time, get a list of all the businesses in a 1-mile radius of your factory, of your plant, of your office, call it what you want. And have you, for 3, 6, or 12 months, just had a monthly plan where you're mailing out 1,000 messages to the same people and following up. Because at the end,
I get where you're coming from, but I mean,
it's a start, though. It's a start.
Well, it depends on what you're doing as a printer, right? I mean, if you're a packaging printer, then sending out a mailing to all of the organizations nearby may not work. It depends what kind of printer you
I'm talking more.
But the process, the idea is right, and it's the shoemaker's children scenario, isn't it? Right?
It is, but you know what? I've been hearing that for so long. You got to take action today.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, if you're supposed to be this marketing consulting facility to your clients, then you can't be do as I say, not as I do, right? At the end of the day, where the rubber meets the road, you need to be there. Because they need to have confidence in that it's not just theoretics that you're talking about, that it's actually actionable insights and deliverables that you can back it up with real world experience. And to do that, you have to be at least as good, if not better, than the in-house expertise of your clients. Otherwise, you're going to get laughed out of the building.
Absolutely. Today, there's no room for playing around. There's too many people out there that know too much, and we all have access to too much information. You know, in the old days, you could bullshit for a lot longer. I'll even just go to talk about, just analogy, like kind of like war. In the old days, we would get the news of what was happening a week, 2-3 weeks later. Now we're watching the bombs drop as they drop with new technology. So in our world, the old ways are done, but you need to be doing something. So if I asked you point blank, what do you think a print company needs to do immediately to start putting themselves out there to be noticed?
Right. Well, firstly, I don't think there is a one-size-fits-all solution. There is not one-size-fits-all answer to that question. Okay? And it shouldn't be that way, because that is half the problem. As the way I see it, half the problem is that, especially within B2B, printers all look like each other. There is no differentiation. We're in a sea of sameness. So, and then what's worse than that are the printers who are trying to compete on kit. Right. So it's like, okay, here's my kit list. I've got the new Okikoki 2000. It's great. It does this. It does that. It's high resolution. It's higher performance. It's this, that, and the other. Customers don't care.
Yeah. So I'll tell you on that point. I think that's slowly changing. I think the legacy salespeople or the older people in our industry still think like that, might talk like that. I see a lot of websites still that have a press or an old press with powder on the front page, of which I call up the people and ask to speak to the owner and say, listen, if nothing else, you got to change the picture. You're not doing yourself a justice, or the industry, right? But I do think that we've got a lot of new people thinking slightly different that are trying to change some ways. I think we have a lot of older management still who are not changing their ways, because I always said that the top of the company everything, the message has to come from there for the people below to, react or interact or create ideas. And if the top people don't get it, then we're stifling the small people.
Which comes back to my first point about how business owners of a certain profile don't see the value of marketing within their business, because they haven't had to do marketing in their business.
So what do we say to them? What do we say to those people? Because what I really want to get out is the people that do the marketing, that understand what we're talking about. You aren't the people that I'm trying to reach. I'm trying to reach the people that really don't get it, that we can give a little something that makes a light bulb go off, that we can get more people within our industry really making a bigger effort to try to promote themselves and market, the industry as well at the same time.
Well, I think it's recognizing that the most dangerous place to be is in the middle of the street, right? And what do I mean by that? I mean being average, being vanilla, being grey is the most dangerous place to be, because you can't be seen. You disappear into the background, and the only way to be noticed, hopefully positively, by your audience is to stand out. And I think many business owners of all profiles are scared to do that, because they're scared to alienate a portion of their potential customer base, which may or may not be a reality, but it's certainly a reality here, or maybe here.
I think maybe they're stuck in their own heads.
Maybe.
Right.
Well, there's an argument that to be a business owner of any business of any size is a very egotistical, narcissistic personality type.
Speak for yourself.
But the point is that too many businesses in the B2B space, and especially print, they all look the same. They all sound the same. They all say the same. And even their articulation of what they call value is the same. If you got 2, 3, 4 pieces of customer-facing communication and you covered up the logo, you could use the base premise on any of these companies. Now that's a problem, right? So if a marketer's job is to get the product, if we can call the print service as being a product, into the very limited consideration set of category buyers, looking and saying the same as everybody else is just never going to work. And you're already on the back foot. And why are we doing all of this? And if we're looking from an online perspective, which is what most people think marketing only is today, which of course we know is not the case. What's the point of online? The point of all of this online is to get to the offline position, to get to a conversation with a prospect. That's the goal of the whole thing, right? So to get there, you need to stand out. And the problem is, and there's plenty of research if you go digging around, that the problem is that buyers don't see any differentiation between the sellers. They all look the same, say the same things. And so the messages all blur together. The challenge for marketers, especially within B2B, isn't necessarily with production or creativity or execution or all that stuff, because it's relatively easy to be, let's call it provocative, okay? But most campaigns that people would deem provocative fail to be insightful. And the challenge is how, within a sales context, when you're trying to get two human beings to connect, right, is to bring provocative insights that actually mean something to the person with whom you're trying to connect, and to create relevance, right? The best sales and marketing positions encompass at least 3 things, right? Is this relevant? Okay. Is this focusing on what matters most to the customer, right? Is it distinctive? Are we showing something better and more different than the competition or the status quo? I mean, doing nothing, okay? And is it memorable? Is it easy to share? Is it hard to forget? And most printers aren't distinctive or memorable. They don't stand out. They're easily forgotten because they look and sound like everybody else.
Yeah. So, so I remember with with my old company, we used to do tons of marketing, from printed samples to all kinds of printed pieces to egrams and emails and staying current on Facebook at the time. And forget the sales, but the comments that we used to get from people is, "You're everywhere," right? Which told me that people are seeing what we're doing. I also learned early on, because SEO is only a thing of the past, like the last 5 to 7, 8 years where SEO and all that word stuff came on. When I started originally, we were putting out so much stuff and press releases and all the egrams that we were moving up the SEO ladder organically. And then we almost
which is the way SEO should be working, right?
Then we were almost stuck there,
right?
Because I used to have the OEMs, if I did something, put out press releases too, so they were coming from like 360 degrees.
Links were coming from everywhere else, sure.
Right? So it made it easier, and I forget the sales. I mean, I always could have done better. But the fact that everywhere we went, or my reps would come back and say to me, "Oh, they said they know us, or they heard of us." Even my competitors would say or comment, "You guys are everywhere." And I would kind of laugh, because they'd say to me, "You're everywhere." And I'm saying, "Yeah, but you've been around a long time and you seem nowhere." And fast forward 5 and 10 years later, they weren't any farther ahead doing what they were doing. So what would you say or suggest to print companies to, or how to start, or how to think, or how to ignite that process?
I think all of these things, as you mentioned from the beginning, they start from the top. Okay, so there needs to be, from the owner, business owner, CEO, whomever, a realization, an acknowledgement, and acceptance that the way we're doing things now needs to change. Okay, and that can be very hard, especially if you've been around for a number of years and you've, worked out a particular process which kind of works, and trying doing something different is a scary place to be. Okay, and especially when you're talking about something like marketing, which is something which you've always seen as being a cost rather than a part of doing business. So that, because if you don't get buy-in from the very, very top, anything that you try to do further down is just never going to work. It's just never going to gain any traction. Okay, because everyone is going to look at the person at the top and say, well, if he or she's not actually embracing any of this, why on earth am I doing it? And it's just going to all collapse like a house of cards.
Yeah, I'm smiling because that's exactly what I've been saying for years, with it coming from the top. So this is the other thing I was thinking about, for anybody at the top listening. One of the other challenges that you have in your business, aside from trying to build your customer base and your revenue, today, everybody's having problems hiring people. The stuff you're going to do in marketing is going to make it easier to hire younger people coming up when they see it, because they want to know that we're doing stuff, that we're current, that we're having fun, right? Like, would you agree with that?
If it's the right kind of people, yes. Unfortunately, I've seen too many cases. Obviously, I'm talking about marketing because that's,
right,
where I know most, where the business owners will, oh yeah, we've got an in-house marketing person, he or she is great, this, that, and the other, and it's some 20-something pink-haired college graduate with a pierced eyebrow, with a MacBook Pro, and
who by the way is great, but doesn't have enough experience,
doesn't know what marketing is, because he or she has never been educated in marketing, trained in marketing, simply thinks marketing is posting pictures, downloading Unsplash pictures and putting them in Canva templates and pushing them out on social media, and thinking that is marketing. Now, before I get into trouble, I love Canva. Right. I love Unsplash. I love you guys very much.
That's not what you're saying. Yes. Right.
No, because on the other side of things, these sorts of tools are extremely important, and they reduce
make it easier, actually.
They make things easier. They reduce the suckiness aspect. That's a technical term. You wouldn't understand it. You're not in marketing.
I'm just in printing. You're right.
Right. They reduce the variability of output. Okay. You know that you're going to create something which is not that bad in terms of a design aspect. Now, in terms of messaging, in terms of salience, resonance, all of that sort of stuff, jury's still out. But at least in terms of how it looks, it's not going to embarrass anybody. Okay. The risk management factor is a very,
I think at the very least, we need to put something colorful in potential customers' hands, right? We have to have some finishing, some embellishments, just to show that our industry is full of technology and moving forward at the same time, right?
But I think it goes back to this differentiation, because yes, we need to wave the flag about print, but we need to wave the flag about ourselves, but in a differentiated way. Otherwise, all you're doing is setting somebody up to go somewhere else and buy on price.
Right. No, I'm saying using all the tools that we have to show the customer and to educate them on the different variables that we're playing with, and that we do have solutions. But I think also for companies, if you're going out there offering up solutions to customers, you better have those solutions. Because if you're going to say it on the phone or say it on a piece, you can't get there and not know what you're doing, because then it has a negative reflection again.
And it needs to be more than skin deep, right? I mean, to go back to this, caricature stereotype of what I'm talking about. Putting that sort of stuff out there is great, but it doesn't. It's not a replacement for actual messaging, positioning, strategy, tactical execution, all of the stuff that marketing actually is, but is missing, right? Because just using these tools doesn't give you the wherewithal to exploit these tools to the level that they could be, right? If I spend $1,000 on a set of kitchen knives, it doesn't make me Gordon Ramsay, does it? Right?
That makes me Gordon Ramsay.
Well, I don't know.
No, it doesn't.
Well, you swear enough. I don't know. You swear like Gordon Ramsay, but you see what I mean. I could buy a Ferrari. Doesn't make me a racing driver. Yeah. Okay. Buy a $10,000 camera doesn't make me Annie Leibovitz, right? So using these tools properly, you can only get that from experience, education, mentorship, whatever else, right? It can't be done any other way. And to sort of tack these things on based upon a pricing differential rather than a competency differential, what happens is when that person or people eventually fail, which they will, it leaves a bad taste in your mouth as a business owner in terms of marketing as a concept, when the problem hasn't been that at all. It's because you've been looking to dip your toe in the water. The thing is, there are plenty of agencies, consultants, not just our agency. There are plenty of agencies.
I thought that you're the only agency in the world.
Well, of course there is, in my mind. Yeah, of course.
And mine too.
But there are plenty of people who know what they're doing, who will quite happily look to put together something where you can dip your toe in the water and try this stuff, without spending, telephone number money.
So I have a question, couple things. Number one, how would a company go and find the right marketer, agency, creative person to work with? Because I know my experience is, and I hope no one's offended, but creative people, designers, off the rockers, right? And not a bad thing sometimes, but
it's part of the job description.
Yes,
so
but
you're right.
How do you find the right person to work with, or how do you tell who's in tune maybe with you?
This comes. There's two answers to your question. Okay. Firstly, it depends on who you're approaching and what you're looking to get out of it. Okay, what you're looking for is not someone who's primarily focused on tactical execution. So you're not looking for a designer, you're not looking for a photographer, you're not looking for a graphical layout artist. That's not what you're looking for. What you're looking for is a marketer, capital M, uppercase M, right? Somebody who can speak the language of business. And the language of business is finance, okay? Most marketers can't speak business. They will wax lyrical about AR and VR and social media and this, that, and the other. Great, but they don't know the difference between AR and EBITDA, right? And that is a problem. You need to
EBITDA is very important, by the way.
It's very important, right? Okay, it's a lifeblood of the business, and if you don't understand the business realities of the organization that you're working with, either as an in-house person or an external person, then all you're doing is tactical. And what you're doing is copying and pasting something that may or may not have worked with somebody else and trying to shoehorn that into your current project, which is never going to work. Because like we said earlier on, the whole point of all of this is differentiation and salience, is not doing the same thing as everybody else, so that you are remembered at the point of buyer decision, or at least consideration. So it starts with that. So if you start speaking to a marketing consultant, marketing agency, and the first thing coming out of their mouth is Facebook ads, social media,
run for the hills.
Run very fast in the 180 degrees direction, because clearly they haven't got a clue what they're doing.
And anyone who says they're going to get you to the top of Google, run for the hills too. That doesn't
run,
work.
Forrest, run. There's two ways to get at the top of Google. Okay, there's a fast way. There's a fast way and a slow way, and the fast way is you pay. Okay, and there are 3 slots, and you can bid on the keywords that you're aiming for, and based upon what the other guys are doing, you may or may not be considered for that 1, 2,
but the chances are when you're playing against the big boys, they've got the money to buy what they want.
It's gonna be tough, but you know, there's a concept called long tail keywords, which I won't get into, but it's possible. The problem is, as soon as you stop paying,
you're done.
So does your traffic gone,
right,
disappeared, right? But it's a quick fix. You know, from the moment you start paying, you get traffic, you get eyeballs. Now, whether you're
doesn't mean you're converting it into dollars.
Doesn't mean you're exactly right. It doesn't.
Listen,
mean
I'm going to tell you, I'm on Google, and you know when you're on Google, and you search something and things come up at the top because they're sponsored, or they've got that little box for the companies I don't really like. I just keep clicking on them, using up their Google AdWords. So when it comes time for me, I don't want to buy them because I know that there's people like me that do that when they're having crazy days. Like my point is, you're spending a lot of money for nothing.
You're spending a lot of money, and you know there's a whole separate argument about how well or otherwise those ads are being shown by Google or third parties. There's a lot of scamming going out there. But the other option, apart from paying, is SEO. But SEO is a slow burn.
Yes.
Okay. It's at least 6 months, if not 9 or 12 months.
But you got to be consistent with your weekly posts, messaging, and
doesn't have to be about consistency. At the end of the day, it's about producing content that addresses search intent. Search intent is Googleese for I'm typing a question into Google. The result that pops up is the best answer to the question that I have. Google notes that, and the next time somebody asks a similar question, it promotes you on that list. Okay, so it doesn't have to be every day, every week, every month, but it does have to be
good
quality information, right?
Yeah.
But it's a slow burn. It's not going to bring you traffic tomorrow, but it will bring you traffic for a long time after. I mean, for our own website, the best converting content page on our website was written about 9 years ago.
Wow.
And it still brings in the most leads of any content specific page on our website. Yeah.
Wow, you should copy that and put it on my site.
Yeah, Google doesn't
work that way, eh?
No, sorry. It'd be too easy, wouldn't it?
Yeah. So question. Company going out there and they want to start, they've listened to this conversation and they've decided they've got to start something, right? What is a company going to spend? And I asked that question, and because I spend money on marketing, I know that it's a loaded question, right? But for the timid first timer, because they're going to have to be consistent to do this regularly. What do you think would be a fair number in their head to be real about? 5,
Good
10,
question.
20?
Well, I think you have to look at how much it costs to have a full-time employee doing marketing within your business. So that's not just a salary. That's obviously tax, social, computer.
So I mean, let's just for fun, a full-time marketing person with some experience, we're gonna say is 75, 80 grand plus the fringe and whatever goes with it.
Was that US, Canadian?
Same difference. Don't be funny now.
No, but it obviously
I'll convert
varies
to pounds. Oh no, actually, I think we go to rubles. There's get a lot more rubles, but.
Yeah,
for a lot less value. No, but realistically, like for something, so a person's not shocked when they go talk to somebody.
The way that we do it is a little bit different to the way other agencies do it. Okay, so what we do is think of it as a 3-legged stool. Okay, so there are three questions that determine what the engagement plan looks like. So there is the business result that the client is looking to achieve. And it's a tangible result. It's not, we want more traffic. Okay. It's, we have this amount of sales from this particular category. We want to increase it from here to here over this particular time frame. Now that's a target. That's a KPI that we can work with. Okay. So that's number one, the business result you're trying to achieve. Second one is a timeline that you want to achieve it. Because obviously if you want to achieve something in a very short space of time, then it's going to cost you more than if it's...
I was never a believer in short term.
Right. And then the third thing is budget. We don't set a price. We craft an engagement plan based on the budget, right? Because there's no point saying it's going to cost you X if the business can't sustainably afford whatever X looks like.
I think where we run into a problem is that word budget.
Right.
Again, I'm comfortable because I'm doing it, but I become sometimes uncomfortable when the person I'm talking to says to me, "What's your budget?" And the reason is more out of fear because I don't know what the costs are or how it's built on the other side.
But it's not about what the costs are. It's about what your business can sustainably afford. If I turned around to you and I said,
sorry,
let me give you an example.
Let me rephrase
Let me give you an example.
Okay,
let me give you an example.
It's my show, but you go first.
It's not your show. It's what they think show.
No, without me, they got no show.
Okay. Okay. Right. If I turned around to you and said, look, I could quadruple your revenue overnight, but it's going to cost you 10 million.
Yep.
Right. That may or may not make sense to you as a business. Okay. Probably not.
You're going to guarantee it though?
There's no guarantees in life. What do you mean guarantees?
All I'm trying to pull out of this is the uncertainty on our side of really knowing, because we're used to dealing with brick and mortar.
Sure.
Right.
Sure. But what all a marketer can do is bring prospects, hopefully qualified prospects, to you, right? Whether you close that business or not, down to your salespeople, right? If your salespeople suck, that's not my problem, right? If what you deliver as an end result sucks, it's not my problem.
Okay, so just now only because, salespeople come up again, right?
Yes, they do. Yes, they're never far away. In fact,
no. So if you're an owner listening, you might be sitting there going, "Okay, I hear G and I hear what you're saying, and we got to spend the money." But I'm also hearing you say that you guys aren't, going to guarantee anything, which makes sense. But then you put it back on the salespeople, and are they capable? So now I'm thinking, before anybody has a marketing discussion with anybody, they need to go and review their staff and who's doing what, because no matter how much money a company might spend, if they don't have the right people to follow up and do the work, it's going to be a failure.
But that isn't a block. That isn't an obstacle, because if you appoint the right marketing partner,
right?
No names mentioned, but if you did,
big G, but yeah,
right? Educating, training, and reformatting how that whole sales role is encompassed within prospects as well as existing customers falls under that remit. Because like I said way back, I can't remember when, if what marketing says and what sales says isn't aligned, that's a problem, right?
Right.
But unfortunately, very few marketers speak to salespeople, and that's a big problem.
Yeah,
and that's probably because they're scared of them, because they say words that marketers don't understand.
But if this, what I'm saying is, if you have a sales team and they're not speaking properly or know how to present whatever it is you're doing, it doesn't matter what you spend in marketing, right? because you need
it needs to be part of
So
marketing.
could the marketing people, if you're with the right ones, help identify if your salespeople should be able to handle it or not? Like, you know what I'm saying? You got somebody somewhere, be it the owner, be it the marketing people, probably not the sales manager, because if those people are there, he hasn't done a good job to begin with. But it's
it's a big assumption, because quite often we will work with the sales director, sales manager, right? Because it's quite often a case of unfamiliarity.
Right, but they have to know, the good ones know who their teams are and what they're doing.
Absolutely.
I'm saying I've come across a lot of sales managers who don't carry the weight that they should, because they're more of pushing over. But how do you, would you by chance sit with an owner and a sales manager to discuss the sales team and what they're going to do on their end after you do yours? Or do you as the marketer just go in, do your thing and say, okay, your problem?
No, not at all, because it's only half of the solution. Okay. The solution, you can't look at marketing in isolation. Okay. Every part of the business that faces the customer is marketing.
Right.
Right.
Yes.
Down
I'm just saying
how people answer the phone.
Right.
How accounts receivable answer an email.
So what you're saying is, in your case, because you can't talk for,
we can't speak for everybody.
You identify and you look with your print owner or whoever your client is at how people are receiving things and reacting to things within the company.
It has to be a holistic solution. You can't try to change one part and leave everything else the way it was.
Okay.
Because it's going to break down again.
So if a person is talking to a company in market, and this is what I'm trying to get at, if a person is talking to someone in marketing, and that person in marketing is not asking what I'm asking about how the salespeople are going to follow through, are they qualified, then you might be with the wrong marketing people.
It's possible. I mean, a lot of it depends upon briefing, because quite often we'll get people come to us and they're self-diagnosing. Okay, they say our problem is X. Can you solve X problem? And it's like, yeah, we can. But know?
But knowing you and working with you a couple times, you personally don't take that. Like, you don't let me get away with shit.
No.
You question me. I don't even have the answers to your questions. Sometimes I have to go away and come back with after I look for them.
But it gets you thinking. It makes you think about stuff that you wouldn't have thought of otherwise.
Right. And then I actually learn something because I've gone back to do the homework as opposed to just hearing and passing it off. Right.
The problem with self-diagnosing is it makes you think you know the answer.
You can't
when you're talking about something which you don't really know much about. Okay, for example, if I go to the doctor because I've got a pain in my chest and I say to the doctor, I've got angina, you need to give me heart medication, right? The doctor's going to say, whoa, okay, who's got the PhD here, right? He's going to examine me, he's going to do a diagnosis, he's going to run some tests, take some blood, goodness knows whatever he's going to do, right? He or she. And then he's going to come back and he's going to say, well, maybe he's going to come back and say, I've got angina, sure. But he may come back and say, you know what? You had some spicy food last night, you got gas.
I always start off with a Zantac before I go to the doctor.
Always a good move, right? But the point is, you have to trust in the expert, right? If you go to the garage and say, I need a new transmission, when all you need is an oil change, right? It's not up to you to decide what the problem is. It's up to the professional that you employ to diagnose.
Oh my God.
And come up with a recommendation.
A long time ago, I decided that I always want to go to the people that know better than me at what they're doing. And for the simple reason that what goes around comes around, that when my customers come to me, right, and tell me what to do, I would turn around and say to them, hang on, are you in the printing business? How do you know that's the right thing? You know what you do. And then they would all say to me, you're right, thank you. Not, and I didn't say it in a mean way, but if you know what to do, then you don't need me.
Exactly.
Right.
So it's the same in the printing business. It's the same in any business. Specialist area of business where you're servicing a customer. Okay, there is training, there is experience, there is education, there is whatever else that makes you the expert in your field. And so to have somebody come in and say, "This is what I need," I mean, example is websites. That's the usual one we get. Can you do us a new website? And we'll take a look, right? And it's like, okay, website, the design of a website is very subjective, right? What you like is not what I like. It's not what somebody else likes, right? But we look past that and we sort of look at the text, the images, what you're trying to say. And that's usually where the problem is. It's not so much the technicalities. It's the heart and soul. It's who you are as a business and what you're trying to articulate as value to your customers. That's what's missing.
Right. Well,
and it's easy. It's easy to spend money on doing a new website and have the same content. But what's going to happen is whomever takes on that project is going to have the finger pointed at them when, the sun is not going to come up and shine and make everybody look like heroes.
Right. You're setting someone up for failure if you
absolutely yes.
You don't do that. Wow. So okay, so we've been going a little while, and we can keep going. If you
I'm sorry if I'm talking too much, Warren.
No, it's great. I'm just afraid that if we go longer, that we'll lose people, because I don't know how long people actually listen. And they should listen. I think more and more people are getting to the end of my sessions, but if you were to just give one or two or three things if you were to have a conversation with a print owner who just said, I got to pump up my business, what would you tell them in a 2-minute spiel?
Don't try to do it yourself, right?
Love it.
Get an expert in, right? Don't try to fix your own car. You get a mechanic in. Don't try to do open heart surgery on yourself, right? You get a doctor to do it. And just like with conversation is free. Have that conversation with somebody. Get a feeling with the person that you talk with, okay? Because it's a very intimate type of relationship that you have with an external marketing agency. There has to be a chemistry there.
I was going to say, you have to have that feel in your gut.
You have to listen to the little voice. Because it's the little voice never sort of steers you wrong.
I have too many little voices in my head.
Yeah, that's a different problem. And if you listen to the little voice, it doesn't generally steer you wrong. And have that conversation. And what that conversation should do is leave you with even more questions than you thought you had. And that's a good place to start. That's what I'd say. And like I said, we'd be happy to help, but there's plenty of other agencies,
for sure,
peers with me who can do that sort of thing and look at it holistically.
My biggest thing always was just finding that level of comfort with the marketer or the agency.
It's vitally important.
As an owner, and I'm sure others will appreciate, you guys are great, but you kind of fall into the accounting and the lawyer field of billable hours. And I don't say it in a bad way, right? But we, I guess for us, customers make corrections, even agencies, and they don't want to pay us because they think just do it. Yet when I'm dealing with an agency and I want to change something, they want to charge me. So
that's done with expectation management, right? Everybody needs to know what the lie of the land is before you engage in anybody.
But we as the printer are thick enough and been having a hard enough time crawling out of whatever rock we've been under. That's just some of the stuff that we come up against. But on your point, to anyone listening, have those discussions with whoever you're sitting with, so you don't leave anything unturned, so that there are no surprises after, right?
Well, it's good just to know what's out there and what is possible for your particular situation, for your particular business, right? So that you can make an informed decision rather than hope.